Welcome to my basement. It has recently come to my attention that my Mac Mini mid-2010 is under-speced. Let's dive in. So, reading about the machine and also the different options available for purchase when it was launched had me believe that my Mac Mini had as much RAM as it possibly could, namely 8 gigabytes. Well, looking at Bashtop, we can see that we have 7.5 gigabytes of memory. So yeah, I guess the 8 gigabyte packaging had a rounding error. So not long ago I got a comment on one of my Mac Mini videos from the user Luckiest Man Alive. The comment contained the two pieces of information. One, the max is 8 GB per slot, which would mean 16 GB in total. And number two, the SO-DIMM RAM this unit uses is dirt cheap at the moment. To test the second piece of information, I looked up my last RAM purchase from 2021, and 8 GB cost me $62 back then. But now in 2025 I could get 16 gigabytes from my local dealer for only $40, including shipping. And as you might see here, I just could not resist. So let's see if these fit and if the maximum is indeed a total of 16 gigabyte. This might be a bit of a useless experiment, at least on my unit, as I believe that I'm more CPU bound at the moment than memory bound. But hey, it's fun to tinker. And in preparation I have run GeekBench 5 prior to the install so that we can compare before and after to see if there's any change at all. So here it is. Let's see if we can open it up, and yeah, I guess these are one of the easier Macs to work with. You can see the symbol here telling me where the lock position is and where the open position is. So let's turn it to open. Yeah, that should be it. Just have to get something underneath so I can pry it open. There we go. And it should be a bit easier to change the RAM than the hard disk. It should just come up like that. And this is of course original Mac memory, which is gold and is worth 10 times more than normal RAM. That's why it's so expensive. So yeah, that was that. Let's see if the new RAM actually fit. Let's do a visual compare and see how far off we are. Okay, it looks like it's actually correct, which is amazing. Okay, so second try, I did not fully seat the RAM correctly. You have to push them up until they click in place. I can try to demonstrate on this one. There we go. So let's try to boot it up again. So yeah, that made a pretty short video. The RAM does not work. The Mac Mini beeps 3 times, which means that it failed the RAM integrity check. So yeah, maybe the machine can't handle 16 gigabytes, or I have messed up the speed of the RAM. So the RAM I bought might not be compatible with the machine. So another week passes by and my RAM chips are the wrong kind, of course. It's 1600 megahertz which is not correct. It should be 1066 megahertz. So even though both numbers contains ones, zeros and sixes, they are not the same. So yeah, let's try these RAM chips from OWC Performance Memory. The speed to create, the capacity to dream. So yeah, let's open up the Mac and see if we can do better than these. Yeah, that should be it. Let's try to power it on and see if this RAM chip works. And starting bash top again, we can see that we have 16 gigabytes installed, or 15.6. Nice. Let's try to run GeekBench again and see how well it performs. So looking at the results from GeekBench before and after, there isn't really much to say. It actually looks like it got a tad bit worse. This might be due to the GeekBench workload I used, that it isn't that memory intensive, or it might be, as I suspected from the start, that the CPU is much more of a bottleneck than the RAM is. So to recap, the Mac Mini mid-2010 can actually handle 16 gigabytes of RAM. But fun fact, back in the day, the operating system could just utilize 8 gigabytes, and that's probably why the top model only included 8 gigabytes of RAM. Secondly, it isn't dirt cheap anymore if you have to buy the same amount of RAM twice. So next time I'm going to buy some RAM, I'll probably double check the speed. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I do hope to see you again next time.